Welcome into another edition of WRAL Triangle and Two. I'm Mark Bergin. He's Luis Fernandez. An absolutely loaded pod today. We will get to the news. Frank Reich fired as Panthers head coach. Luis, we're going to keep it in the triangle, though, to start right off the jump. We saw some history in Durham on Saturday. Who knew? Who knew? Mike Elko's final game coaching the Duke Blue Devils. You were down on the sidelines at the game. What I want to ask you right from the jump, was there any sentiment that he was leaving Saturday because you were actually covering this game?
So here's the thing, Mark. Like, this had been a topic that had been broached several times over the past few weeks. Mm-hmm. Essentially, anytime a somewhat big-time program had a job open, the question was, will they look at Mike Elko? Because of what he's done at Duke over the past 2 years. Like, it's been very impressive to go, 9-4 last year, and then 7-5 in the regular season this year after – they had only won one ACC game in the 2 years before he got there. Mm-hmm. And they just beating Pitt was their 9th win. So he had done a very good job, and obviously that draws national attention. What he had been saying in all of his press conferences and things like that was Duke is my focus. Duke is my focus. Duke is my focus. I love, I want to be here. I love being here. And there were a couple of opportunities before A&M, Michigan State, Northwestern, those were kind of the big ones. And he had said, no, he's focusing on Duke. But the A&M one always felt like if he were going to leave, it was going to be for that job. Because he was the defensive coordinator there for so long. Listening to the post-game press conferences, being there, asking questions, watching senior day, all of that, there really was not, I don't think, any kind of overt kind of line that, yes, he is going to leave. Everything that he talked about was we're focusing on the future, excited for the foundation we're building. These seniors are going to be, so important. I don't know if we're going to have a more important senior class. It's going to take several years, blah, blah, blah. So, not shocked, but a little surprised.
I think that's fair because coming out of that game, it looked like Mark Stoops was heading to Texas A&M, and then the 11th hour, they back out to hiring the Kentucky coach. So to go from one SEC school to another, that falls through. And the sentiment on Twitter was like, you're going to fire Jimbo Fisher, a coach who has won a national championship, and pay, a $77 million buyout to hire Mark Stoops. Now, Mike Elko comes back into the mix, and it was just like, well, okay. I want to say one thing and take this outside of this current situation, Luis. Mm-hmm. For any fan out there watching, whenever any coach gets asked about another job, he's not in a position to speak truthfully.
No.
I just want to be as crystal clear as I can, and we'll see what Mike Elko says later today. We're recording this on Monday, November the 27th, when he speaks at his introductory news conference as the head coach of the Texas A&M Aggies.
Yeah, and, whenever you ask it's one of those things where you have to ask coaches, right?
We have to do it as journalists. We have to ask the question.
Your name's being thrown around, all this stuff. But the answers don't really mean anything. You've seen that every year. You've seen it this year with Oregon State's head coach heading to Michigan State. It's just kind of the business of it all. I think what's sad, what kind of is the kind of gross underbelly of college athletics, especially college football. You see, like, in one of the best moments of the post-game press conferences after this Pitt win for Duke after senior day was Jalen Calhoun, a 5-year player at Duke, a wide receiver. He was just the fourth player in Duke history to get 3,000 receiving yards. After the game, he was asked, you gave Mike Elko a very big hug. There was an embrace after the game. What did that moment mean to you? What has all of this meant to you? And he was very he said, I love that man. Like, he completely changed my life. I know that we're going to be communicating, in the future for many, 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 many years. Like, there was obvious emotion. He had to take a second and pause because you could see the emotion starting to come on his face. And then 24 hours, Elko is 48 hours later, Elko is arriving on College Station at 3 a.m. That's I'm not trying to, pocket watch anyone, right? If you offered me, we don't know how much money Mike Elko is set to make yet at A&M. That those details have not been released. But I'm assuming based on what Jimbo Fisher's contract was, I'm assuming it's going to be, a lot of zeros. And that's my thing, right? Is if you were to offer me that kind of money, I'm sure I would do just about anything you wanted me to do. But it doesn't change the fact that it's a little gross.
Well, here's the flip side of that, though, too, Lewis. Your litmus test is: can you go beat Texas A&M? Can you go beat Georgia right now with Kirby Smart's doing? LSU's not far behind with Brian Kelly, and then Texas is going to be out for blood because you skipped town on leaving the Big 12 a decade ago. Texas is coming into the SEC. So that's what Mike Elko is walking into. And I'll talk about Mike Elko and then say, hey, where's Duke go from here? Lewis, we cut our teeth in Knoxville, Tennessee, right? So when we were covering the post-Butch Jones era, he gets fired. 2017 starts out 4-6, doesn't have a win in the SEC, which is almost impossible with the recruits Tennessee could get. And then Tennessee was going to hire Greg Schiano, and that fell through in the 11th hour. And then it leads to Jeremy Pruitt. Different circumstances, I understand, but it reminds me a bit of that of, well, it looked like Stoops was going to be the guy, and now Elko's walking in, a place where he has experience. But, I wish him all the success at Texas A&M, but that's going to be awfully tough when you're going to be measured by, can you go beat Nick Saban? Can you go beat Kirby Smart and the best of the best in the SEC?
Yeah, and that's I think it's a good hire by Texas A&M. Mike Elko, I think, is going to have a lot of success at Texas A&M. I think that's very clear. The job that he's done at Duke, he's like a CEO type coach, where he's a perfect college coach in that he understands the image, he understands how to build from the ground up, how to make everything, kind of sing together, how to harmonize everything. That's what he did at Duke. And, from the strength and conditioning all the way up to the actual results on the field, what was happening at Duke is very impressive. So I think he's going to have a lot of success. It's a bit of a bummer when you go from the emotion of a senior day to this. And that's what it's always going to be. And that's why, also, side note, if you ever complain about players leaving, Exhibit A as to why players should be allowed to transfer and make money and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's sad. And I guess the question becomes what is next for Duke football?
Yeah. Who could they even go out and get? And right now it's I was trying to put a list together in advance of the show. The coaching carousel, which is one of my favorite things. It's tough because at Duke, you want to kind of create what they have in basketball on a football level, but it's keeping up with the Joneses, not just in the ACC, but in all of college football, where you have other schools that just have more money, more resources, alumni base, and so forth. I liked what Elko was building. We'll see what he ends up making, but it's just I'm kind of bummed with this news, in all honesty, because coming off a 9-4 season, 7-5, he took over a team. This is no knock on David Cutcliffe's tenure because he was very successful. Elko took over a team that had lost 13 consecutive ACC games, and then in the same season leads his team to a 9-4 year and wins ACC Coach of the Year last year. I liked what he was building, and now Duke has to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we've got to be real, It's the difference between an A&M job and a Duke job. That's SEC. That's a team that has a lot of money to throw around, a lot of big boosters and things like that. You're in the middle of Texas, you're recruiting there. That is very clearly the better job on paper. But it's also just it's tough because what does Duke football want to be? What are their goals? I think maybe even looking internally and seeing if Kevin Johns would be promoted from OC to head coach. I think that could be something. But also, you have to look at who is Elko going to bring over to A&M, both coaching wise and transfer portal wise.
You're in my brain. Because the question I have is what happens with Riley Leonard, probably your best player. So
and that's it. Yeah, and there are going to be really good plays. This will be the last thing I want to throw out there about this Duke thing is one thing that Elko said after the game was he was talking about how important the senior class was to what Duke football was doing, has done. And he said, this group of seniors, that have stuck it out the 2 years that I've been here, like, it's very rare that, he's like, in this day and age, players go everywhere. They leave. They don't stick together. This group has stuck together. Just the juxtaposition of that with leaving. I get it. Once again, if you offered me the bag, I would assuredly take it. But it's one of those things you have to reckon with in college football. It's gross.
Yeah, I was sitting in front of a former Duke football player during the game. And he was saying, we were both talking where it's like, at that point on Saturday, it was like, oh, Elko's not going to go to A&M. And if he wins 8 games a year and takes this team to a bowl game, he'll be revered in Durham. And now he moves on. And what Riley Leonard does, a player that has some sort of NFL future, I don't know if it'll be for a few seasons. If he could be a backup, if he can establish into a prospect, he has an NFL future. Does he go now? Does he come back to Duke? Does he transfer with Elko? Does he transfer to another school? Keep your eye on that. Lewis, we need to keep this rolling, though.
Yeah, let's go ahead and go from one program that we're like, oh, man, I don't know what their future is, to another kind of similar situation when you just look at what was a incredibly disappointing result for UNC and an incredibly just cathartic, beautiful moment for NC State. What were your initial thoughts on what's going on here, Mark? I know there's a specific kind of question you wanted to ask.
Let me say this, and the question we'll have is, what's more likely, Mack Brown retiring from UNC or Dave Doeren leaving NC State for another school? If I have to answer this, I think both will be back in the triangle. If I had to answer, though, I'd say Dave Doeren getting poached, because Mack Brown at the age of 72 did some research. Miami's Howard Schnellenberger, he coached till he was 77. So I think there's some gas left in the tank with Mack Brown. We'll talk some about the game, Lewis, but here's where I'm going to land is you can be frustrated that the Tar Heels lose 4 of their last 6 games this season. Virginia put out the recipe of how to beat this UNC football team. Dominating time of possession. You say, well, the offense doesn't do its part. You're not lighting up the scoreboard with Drake Maye and Tez Walker and Amari and Hampton. NC State had the ball for more than 40 minutes on Saturday. So in 3 of the 4 Tar Heels losses, dominated in time of possession. Clemson had the ball for more than 38 minutes. Virginia had the ball for more than 37 minutes. If your defense is out on the field almost twice as long as your offense, you're not going to win the football game. So we can talk to Mack Brown and the offense not doing its part. The more serious conversation we need to have, I am not calling for Gene Chizik's job, but I am taking a long look, Lewis, on what was Swiss cheese defense last year and what was, again, Swiss cheese defense on the back half of the 2023 season. That's where we start this conversation.
Yeah, so time of possession, I think, is a little bit of like a causation versus correlation type thing. I think it's part of the reason. I don't think it's like the whole reason. They just got beat up. UNC just got beat up. Like there's, if you isolate the NC State game, Mack Brown said they didn't practice in pads the week of. What are you doing? I understand there are injuries, but it's one of those games where you have to really, strap on your big boy pants and get ready to get in a rock fight. Like that's what these type of college football rivalries are. There's toxicity, there's animosity. The people on either side just do not like each other. And that's part of what makes college football really cool, is that you have those type of really close rivalries. I just think, I don't know. I look at what UNC, the UNC had a lot of questions it had to answer coming into this season as a football program, right? Their toughness was questioned. The defense was questioned. Their ability to finish games, not play down to their opponents, all those things. And in the first half of the season, they answered a lot of those questions. They were tougher. They battled in the trenches. The defense was better. They were able to finish off opponents. They didn't play down to competition, all this stuff. And then in the second half of the season, it just all fell apart. and they reverted back to what they had been. And, you have to give NC State so much credit. Like the coaching job that Dave Doeren has done to Dave Doeren, Robert and I, Tony Gibson, what they have done to essentially make the most out of what's there on offense, to really just, it feels like take every ounce of talent out of those players, bring them together. And, you have to have a common enemy. And if there's one thing I can tell you, it's that when NC State and UNC play each other in football, there's so much animosity from the NC State players towards UNC players. And if you do not match that kind of animosity, it's the kind of thing that's just going to get your butt kicked. Just straight up.
Yeah, I mean, Brendan Armstrong, this is a bit of a hyperbole. He looked like Tim Tebow on Saturday night. And it's like basic defensive philosophy. You lose, contain, you lose the game. A lot of plays where it's like, where's your backside pursuit to fill on a play where certain players over pursue, an offensive player cuts back, and there's just no one there.
Yeah.
And there's just no one there. So again, I go back to, okay, what's the recipe to beat UNC this year? 3 of the 4 losses dominated in time of possession. And I get that time of possession doesn't always tell the story of the game, but you ask any defensive player, hey, what's it like when you have a running back that can move the chains, sustain drives, and keep your offense in the field? You can chill on the sideline, get your oxygen, your Gatorade, get your legs back, and you can get to go back on the field. And the Tar Heels defense is stuck on the field for twice as long as the offense is out there. Now, the offense is part of that too. But that, to me, Virginia put the recipe out there for the rest of the country to say, hey, if you're going to beat this high-flying Tar Heels team that can put up points and light up the scoreboard, here's how you go about doing it. And look, 39-20 final score? That wasn't even close.
No.
It was an absolute butt-kicking,
No.
Lewis. It was not reflective of an absolute domination by NC State. Give NC State credit. Now, we're looking at this on the screen, the question on the screen. What say you, Luis Fernandez? Mack Brown retiring, Dave Doeren leaving. Which is more likely?
So I don't think Mack Brown's going to retire this season.
Neither do I.
I think there are going to be changes. There need to be changes to the coaching staff. Interpret that how you will. But I don't think that, to me, Mack Brown is there until he doesn't want to be there. That's just, I think, the situation. And Dave Doeren, he has found like this really beautiful kind of niche in college football, where I think he's at a program that the goal is to elevate it to the point where it gets to the ACC championship game, right? But it's a fan base that is passionate, and it is a place where you can have consistent success. Like the fact that he's able to consistently get the 7, 8, 9 win total, I think that's huge. We really cannot emphasize enough. If NC State were to win its bowl game against whoever it might be, that's 10 wins. That's only happened once in NC State football history. That would be massive. A
legitimate 10 wins too. And look, I don't mean to stir the pot, but
they don't do the Holiday Bowl 10 wins anymore. I will say that.
Okay.
But so I think the only, if they were to say, if you were to say, if there would be a situation where Florida State, like let's say, beats up on Louisville in the ACC championship game, Louisville drops below NC State in the college football playoff ranking, Florida State goes to the playoffs, and then NC State's the number 1 non-playoff team outside of that. And so NC State goes to the Orange Bowl. And then if they were to win the Orange Bowl, then you may have people starting to look at Dave Doeren from that perspective. He's said before, he's had opportunities. People have been interested in him. I don't know. I think Dave Doeren's kind of happy where he is, honestly. And I think that the program, the culture of NC State is Dave Doeren, like who he is, all of that kind of stuff. That, hand in the dirt, grit, like all of that kind of, that's who NC State is. And they've had a lot of success with that. And, now really the next thing for them is just to try and take that next step. So,
we'll see if they can do it. We'll see if they can do it. And then
this question's a push for me, Mark Bergin.
Okay. I would probably say, I don't think either will happen, but more likely I'd say Doeren leaving. I saw some sentiment that where it's like, oh, Mack Brown might retire, or it's not his choice. He's under contract through 2028. So unless something substantial changes, like if the Texas A&M fans were concerned that Mark Stoops was the best that they could get and they're an elite program, if you either forced Mack Brown out or he retired, however he would leave, who are you getting? Who are you bringing in? So
it's the same thing that's going on with Duke, where you're like, okay, what's this program? Is it a stepping stone? Is it the main one? There's a lot there.
Can I ask you one more thing with North Carolina?
Sure.
Drake Maye, Tez Walker, do they play in the bowl games? What would you advise them to do? Because I'm Drake, go ahead.
So I think Drake, if I were advising Drake, I would say don't play in the bowl game.
Me too.
He kind of hurt his ankle there at the end of the game. Like he's probably going to be a top 3 pick. I would not play in the bowl game if I were him. For Tez Walker, I don't know if Tez Walker is going to leave. Like he's got 1 more year of eligibility. I don't know if he's high enough on like. I think Tez Walker's situation will be something to watch.
Okay.
But yeah.
You think he could be back in Chapel Hill?
Maybe. I think it's a possibility.
Transitioning here from college to pros, breaking news today, Lewis, our final topic of the show. The Panthers fire head coach Frank Reich after a terrible start, only 1 win in Bryce Young's rookie season. I think the question is what happens next for the Panthers? So is GM Scott Fitterer next after the end of the season? Panthers had the lowest winning percentage since David Tepper took over in 2019. And the guy I would try to go out and get, Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, to try to get Bryce Young right in year 2. So that's how I would approach this. But what did you make of the news today, hearing that the Panthers had fired Frank Reich?
I mean, like, what are the Panthers doing? Like, what is the state of the franchise? I don't like you meant. I agree. Ben Johnson would be a great hire, but why would Ben Johnson want to go to Carolina right now? You know, like,
wow.
I mean, like seriously, it's like a matter of like the best coaches, the best offensive minds, because assuming you want to hire someone who's an offensive mind, that's what you already tried to do supposedly with Frank Reich. Like, I'm sure there are going to be a lot of situations that are going to be better than Carolina's. So unless David Tepper is just throwing the bag at them. Plus, you look at the fact that David Tepper has fired 3 coaches already.
2 midseason and back-to-back seasons as well last year with Matt Rule.
This is not the Premier League. Like, you don't just fire coaches all the time. I mean, like, should Frank Reich have been coaching once we were like 11 games in? No, I think it was pretty clear that it just wasn't going to work. Like, they were bad.
I think it was really telling when he took back the play calling responsibilities, and it was like, oh boy.
I don't want to like pile on to Carolina Panthers fans, and we have plenty of coverage on Panthers Playbook and 99 The Fan and all that stuff. But like, it's dark times in Charlotte at this point.
I think you have to evaluate what you do with the GM. You ride it out this season, and whoever you bring in, you need to get right, because you have to hit home on Bryce Young. You've got Caleb Williams, Drake Maye, going to be top picks. You traded what would have been that pick this year, and you don't want to have to restart this process all over again. We focus on young rookie quarterback struggling. We talk about it a lot and comparing him to the great season CJ Stroud is having. And now maybe you can even say that Tommy DeVito is having a better season than Bryce Young. But it's more so about coaching and the personnel you surround them with, and coaching and development. And if it's not Frank Reich, you have to get this right to salvage Bryce Young. That's my point, Lewis.
Oh, and that's I think that's the key, is you don't want to be the franchise that ruined Bryce Young's career. And I'm not saying Bryce Young has been perfect, but like, I don't know how many quarterbacks, young quarterbacks especially, would thrive in the system right now. And
I'm with you there.
Roster doesn't look good. I still go back to, how did you look at this wide receiver and core and say, yep, that's good? You know who was on the board when they picked Jonathan Mingo?
Lay it on me.
Tank Dell. I'm not trying to say like, hey, look at the Houston Texans, how much better they are than the Carolina Panthers. Well, I'm like, oh, what are you doing? Like, it is a dark time, and I don't know what the heck. Like, David Tepper, man, like, he's being.
We see it with new owners in sports a lot, where they're multi-billionaires. They've had success in business. I'm going to do it differently than predecessors have in the sports that I have, and they're going to do it different. And you're getting the reality of, you try to put a patch and a Band-Aid on what is a deep, deep flesh wound, And just what I'm trying to figure out is what the Panthers need to do to start rowing in the right direction.
I don't know. And I don't know. I don't know.
I think that's a great place to wrap, because if we don't know, it's like, why people are listening.
The last thing I want to say on David Tepper is that there is this notion that if you are a genius in one field, that genius carries over into other fields. And it is such a logical fallacy. And it frustrates me to no end. And I do not like when owners are like that, because that's what ends up happening here. You hire football people that know football to do football things. That's the last thing I'm going to say.
Lewis, that's an absolutely great place to wrap. I think this was our best episode yet of Triangle and Two. Go leave us a 5-star review, Apple and Stitcher. If you're on YouTube, tap the subscribe button on the 99.9 The Fan YouTube page. A lot coming from WRAL Sports. A lot of news out there. I want to thank the listeners and viewers for watching. Anything else I'm missing here, Lewis?
What a day, man. What a day.
For Lewis Fernandez, I'm Mark Bergin. Thank you for watching WRAL Triangle and Two. We'll see you next time. Until then, take care, and so long, everybody.